I'm Jennifer Thompson. Hello, some people know me already. I'm AD Associate Dean for Enterprise and Business Engagement in the School of Science and Engineering.
Hi, Chris Renahan from Stockton-on-Tees Borough Council. I'm an Assistant Director in the Council.
Jonathan Mel, I'm the MD of a strategy consulting company called Spur. In ancient history, I was involved in the pharmaceutical sector, Janssen Pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Neil Warren, part of Spur on Law.
Nigel Perry, I'm CEO of CPI, which I mentioned earlier.
I'm Susan Lane, I'm Dean for the Business School here at Teesside University.
I'm Dave Holmes, the Membership Manager for the North East and Yorkshire for Biosciences, a not-for-profit membership organisation for the Life Sciences Centre.
I'm I'm Linda Nelson, I'm an Associate Dean in Enterprise and Business Engagement in the School of Health and Social Care at the University.
I was a Dean.
I'm only an associate, I'm not as important.
I'm the brand new Dean of Innovation and Business at Newcastle University, but I'm not an academic. My background actually is 30 years in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, so just coming to the university to try and shake things up.
Fantastic. And what we've been given the task of answering 3 questions, which we then have to sort of feed back, and in a plenary, and Jane's going to ask questions. What is the potential of the sector? What are the challenges for the sector? And how do we build our own reputation as a region in this sector? And if we start with so what is the potential of the sector? And perhaps, you heard my passionate plea for it. Maybe you want to tell a few parallel stories of what you think the potential for the sector is in terms of where you're sitting. And feel free as the discussion goes just to pitch in as we have the discussion. But who wants to start off?
Well, I guess I can briefly summarise where we see the National Horizon Centre highlighting the potential of the region. Obviously working with CPI on that, but also looking to engage all the other pharmaceutical and biosciences companies, industry biotech companies in the region. We are simply saying we see there is a strategic, a critical mass, and obviously we've been on this as well. We see there is a critical mass, and it's how do we leverage that critical mass and make ourselves a go-to place? How do we raise the profile then of the region through that concentration of activity in the biosciences? I don't know if you've got comments on that, Nigel?
I've got several comments since you've asked me. I think there's a number of factors which we can get hold of here in the northeast of England. We've got the First for Pharma, which is the group of 31 pharmaceutical companies who are determined to make the northeast one of the top 4 go-to manufacturing places in the world. We've also got, despite the views of others, more science being generated outside the Golden Triangle in this space than is generated inside the Golden Triangle. And those universities are not serviced properly at the moment. So Manchester, Liverpool, Nottingham, etc., are not serviced. And they need a go-to place that enables them to translate and enables the manufacturing step, because this sector is driven largely by university invention and SMEs that need to scale up. So having this critical mass, I think, is one of the key elements, but the other one is to realise that our market is actually the whole of the UK, and I'd really rather like to go and get and rummage around in the Golden Triangle quite significantly as well, because I'd like to. We do take stuff out of UCL, we do take stuff out of KCL, and we do take stuff out of Oxford. And I think we've got a huge opportunity if we can actually knit all that together. And we've got the infrastructure happening. So we've got the Horizon Centre, we've got the Biologics Centre, we've got Fuji. We've also got GSK, we've got Merck and Dow. We've got some fantastic opportunities here. Unfortunately, none of the politicians see it because we're not shouting about it.
I think we might start to see it because it was mentioned today the National Innovation Centre for Ageing, where there's clearly huge expertise, as I'm learning, having been here 2.5 weeks now, in ageing, in the Newcastle area, but presumably coming down into Teesside as well, where we do already have the National Innovation Centre for Ageing, and we can build upon that, and that's not just around the life sciences, but it goes into buildings and other bits and pieces as well. And then obviously that fits in with the one of the grand challenges, our Industrial Structure Challenge Fund, which is healthy ageing. So that really puts us on the map here. And I think that will be a focal point for the politicians. And there are politicians coming up and down all the time now, specifically with an interest in the ageing agenda. The other thing I should say is that the other major topic which you'll know something about is, of course, we've got the Northern Advanced Treatment Therapy Centre here. There's one of only 3 in the UK. One of them is in the northeast here, between Edinburgh and Newcastle, where that takes us through everything from therapy through to manufacturing, through to distribution of advanced therapies and those types of things. So I think those are 2 key major areas, 2 key areas of focus.
I should have said, because I wasn't assembling the thing fast enough in my head, we also have in the NHS group in Newcastle and in James Cook here, outward-looking, innovative, very, very large university, very, very large hospitals, both of whom, all 3 of whom, 4 of whom, are determined, because of budget pressures and other things, to actually address the opportunity of higher bangs for the buck and lower bucks, which is potentially in this space. So if you add it to Jennifer's comment about critical mass, we almost have a supply chain, or our job is to create the innovation supply chain.
I was just going to add to the conversation about politicians and kind of where that fits in, obviously being from a local authority, and I suppose I came with the question today, what more can we do, certainly as authorities and as a combined authority, but I think on that point, I think we've got a big opportunity with the Tees Valley Mayor as it is. I think Steve mentioned it in his presentation earlier about using that direct link to government as it is at the minute, with having Ben in as the Tees Valley Mayor and the doors that he can open, I suppose, and it's, I suppose, giving him the lines or the stories to feed into that there's never been a better opportunity to do that, I would say.
So if you look, and that's a really good point, because when we come on to talk about how do you build the reputation of the sector in the North East in this sector, I think that some of these links we're talking about here are really important. If you just go back to the infrastructure then, if you say what's the potential of the sector, joining the dots of some of this stuff is clearly one of the jobs we've got to do, because it was really interesting, I thought, as the presentations unfolded this morning, that you started to see the number of national centres that are actually in the north/northeast is really impressive in terms of what is up here. And I think we have to keep telling that story, because we're the storytellers effectively of that. And I think that's really, I mean, as you said, the ageing and joining the dots in healthcare, and bioscience, of course, is a broader subject than health. You could look at fuel and feed as well in this area. And certainly in the health piece, I think we've said there's a real potential. We can broaden it, I think, and look at the feed and the fuel area and say there's a broader go-to reason for coming to the northeast too. And I wonder if you've got any stories you want to add on feeding and fueling as part of the bioscience. I know, Jeff, from your world that you sit in, the food area is really important.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these things came from fundamental technologies developed within ICI. And you know, those, if you look at the quants more than that, we very rarely talk about it as a food. What they're talking about, it almost is as a way of changing the planet. You know, water resources, etc. How the stories come out, I think, is quite interesting. The university has been I partnered with the University of York and the University of Hull around this whole initiative, which is the Greeks chair, the industrial steering group, around it's called the Time Project, and it is looking at growing the bioeconomy. And when we looked at it, we looked at 3 main areas, and the dots aren't joined up here yet. And this is the role of this over the next 3 years, to start to think about, you know, how you convert products, agri-products or waste products into more valuable things, how you transform land usage, which at the moment is in chemical industries, going to bio-renewable sort of areas, things like the SSI site, for example, and then finally, how do you grow the productivity in those areas? And that, as we went through that, we saw a big role for how digital technologies can do and help in those things. So I think those are the areas, but at the moment I don't see this connectedness at the moment between people that are developing technologies for digital animation and promotion, etc. of this, being involved with the people that are at SSI side, that are involved with people that are in the process industry, and how you convert that, how you make this big story, I think is the big challenge for us. So that's no single party in that, whether it's 3 universities, the cluster organisations, FIC, Vale and Catch, or the industries, the diverse industries that make bioeconomy can do that, and I think that's probably your part of the strategy.
Steve, a couple of other observations. So the first one is, not unsurprisingly, CPI is active in the food bio sector as well. Famously, the Calista salmon feed kind protein that we built a pilot plant for, and they're now looking for building their first large-scale plant. Other confidentiality prevents me from even mentioning other companies' names, but the thing about joining the dots is key, but it's not just joining the dots of the science, the companies and the translators. We have to bring in the politicians, because post-Brexit we no longer compete with inward investment into Europe. We're competing inward investment across the globe. And we've got to wake up to that, because places like China are exceptionally hungry for Western technology. You just have to measure how many Chinese students we've got in the universities hoovering and looking. And yet we're still using some of our more £17,000 per job measures to enable inward investment to be attractive. Now, I spent 7 years in a company that got mentioned this morning, working around the world building assets, and I can tell you, yes, there are some attractive things about the UK, but there's a lot of things we need to get seriously sorted out from a political perspective about how the public sector and the private sector work in that space. That's not a whinge, it's a statement of fact, and you'll know that from your day job as well.
Is there not also an opportunity to, and it's, I know it already happens, but it's a question of how do you improve things. If a lot of the tech giants have been looking at open innovation for a long time, because even the likes of Apple, etc., have thought we haven't got the answer to everything, and from my animal health pharmaceutical background, even in the early 90s, it was clear that Janssen didn't have the answers to all the questions and have to partner with other people. Because how much of that can be developed in partnership with businesses that are, okay, we're focused on the northeast of England, so how many of the northeast businesses can get into the supply chain, and not for it to be seen as almost feeding off the scraps of the big pharma table once they've done business in Oxford and Cambridge or whatever. It's actually been at the start of those conversations. And I know it does already happen, of course it does, but it's a case of, well, how can we make it smoother, quicker, more added value as a group of public and private sector providers?
Yeah, I think that sort of pulls into one of the strengths of the region. I know it was touched upon earlier on as sometimes being a bit of a disadvantage, but it's a relatively small region. So that the fact is that compared to some other regions which are quite spread out, people are in touch with each other. So it's a good, that is a strength that we've got a good community where people can network and collaborate and bring people together, and that's definitely an asset for us.
How well are we? If I can ask a question of David again. The bio now is active in the region.
Yeah.
And how well are we, though, as a region projecting the message? Because I just think about the work that goes on in Newcastle with ageing, and it's very much more around the more medical side, a lot of it around clinical trials, things like that. Whereas the centre around the Tees Valley is more around the manufacturing, around scale up, and it will be with the Horizon Centre. There'll be more innovation in research and a place to do that in a small scale that will lead into CPI in a big scale. But how do we join up that picture properly as one regional picture? Because I think we don't do that, do we? my perceptions, because we tend to talk about Newcastle and Dean Valley.
Yeah, and these, you know, a bit of tribalism in that respect, you know, and go.
And Durham, of course.
Yes, exactly.
No, I mean, you made the point about the mayor of Teesside, but there's soon going to be a mayor of North Tyne as well.
Absolutely.
Of course, then the 4 regions south of the Tyne decided not to join that. But actually somehow we need. So Andy Burnham makes a huge noise coming out of Manchester and Northern Powers, and we need to put something. And certainly the 2 mayors are going to have to get their heads together to decide how. We need to totally get those 2 people on board. On message, so that they're down in London telling the politicians exactly what they want.
Complementary theory.
Sorry, before I was we came here, I was in Manchester, and that process of banging heads together, Greater Manchester wasn't Greater Manchester, it was Manchester within Bolton. And they were fiercely independent, and they have banged heads together. It was bloody. But now they've got it, and the prices we're fighting for. They've got to bang heads together.
It's sometimes got to be a trade-off, hasn't it?
There's an opportunity to take this a little bit higher for a second. I think, one of the criticisms of the strategic economic plan in the north is that it's a bit Me Too. It's a bit, everybody's got digital, everybody's got advanced manufacturing. So as I can tell, everybody hasn't got bioscience, fermentation. So then, we're all supposed to be nice and collaborative and working together across all these sectors, but the other breakout groups strike me as just the same as any other lab area. This looks like it's totally different.
And the interesting thing is you wouldn't appreciate how much force is applied to get the bioscience agenda into our strategic economic plan. It keeps falling out.
Yeah. And part of the problem, we found this with government, is people can't get it. They don't actually know what it is. So people get digital, they get advanced, they get artificial intelligence. When you start talking about bio, you can actually see and you have to then talk about what the solution is actually to get the bio story told. If you talk about, we've got this excitement coming up at the moment, we're about to do a transatlantic flight using biofuel made using industrial biotechnology. Wow. People get that because Richard Branson said, and it's Richard Branson who's saying it, I'm going to convert Virgin Atlantic over to bio-sourced fuel by 20 whatever, and I want it British made. Now suddenly that's quite cool because that's got a bio story to it. Half the problem is that you've got to really force these bio stories into people's brain where they get ageing. So you talk about the National Ageing Centre, people get it. I'm really interested what people think the National Biologics Manufacturing Centre is doing. Because the ageing centre, people get it's in the name. But what is biomanufacturing?
Unfortunately, when you work with government, occasionally you get given names which aren't what a marketeer or a commercial person might call something. So the National Biologics Manufacturing Centre rolls off the tongue and has great brand credibility and brand capital. But if we got to the stage, as you did this morning, Steve, of talking about what we're doing in Darlington's curing cancer.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That is
that's
a transformative
exactly
thing. And our largest customer at Darlington is Cancer Research UK.
Just follow on from that. I think that's a really good point. About smart investment in, if you want to call it economic development or business strategy. There was some really great work done in the 1990s and early 2000s, just really critiquing, and it was in America, so after Business Review, it was John Cusher, full of our broken dreams. It doesn't work because everybody ends up saying every sector is as important to everything in all areas. Whereas if you've got a precious critical capability like bioscience in the northeast, whatever, Kings Valley, North, wherever in this area, then smartly invest in that for the return, but believe you've got a plan and invest in it. And that means that other sectors don't get the same level of attention or a different type of attention. But that's not a bad thing. That's smart investment. And Paul Drexler made the point, I think you were there at the time, and it was 18 months ago at your facility in Darlington, where he was talking about the critique of picking winners. Well, that's what you do in business. Not necessarily the ones that are already winning, but the ones you are thinking are going to win in the future. That's what it's all about.
And this is where we've got a chance on an international stage as well. This is a real opportunity as an export business as well.
It is not for any particular reason that the Americans are building an MBMC, kind of building two of them, because that is a world unique facility.
So we've got the first mover advantage, so we need to capitalise on it.
But I think there are two subtleties here which we need to be cognizant of. The first one is that the public sector is a Me Too device, so you get these famous centres of mediocrity emerging rather than centres of excellence. So famously, when all the RDAs were around, you got the same bloody strategy being always sold by the same consultancy. So the point of differentiation is a highly emotive one, but very, very critical. I think the other thing is we do need to understand what the industry wants, because this isn't a sort of technology strategy push. It has to be a market-led proposition. And the industry itself is coming to terms with what bioscience, particularly healthcare bioscience, does. So if you're talking to the big pharma majors, they're kind of looking for help, they're kind of looking for guidance. So there's something about potential thought leadership in here as well that we might be able to contribute.
So not even more basic. I mean, as a group, do you have a business plan? Do you have a marketing strategy?
For the North East.
Well,
For this sector?
yeah,
for the
well,
North East?
both LEPs, both Tees Valley Combined Authority and the North East LEP have identified this as an area that they wanted to push. So that's good. We've got that, that continuous identification there by the two key players. So hopefully they can coordinate their efforts.
Yeah, but they're each shouting about, they are at the moment each shouting about their own sub-region. There isn't that. Sorry, being blunt.
The question without appearing to anyway criticise it, because it isn't, it's very much agreeing with you, is the holy grail. To get a joined up business plan with clarity around marketing. The issue is
sort of outsiders of not open to you guys to say, well, this somebody needs ownership of this. That's just all right, that's the university. Create a business plan, see the digital sector, there's marketing expertise, pull it together, get a message for this, and collaborate. I think one of the things about, I get really annoyed about the North East, specific Teesside and North East LEP, is that point that was made, there are too many leaders, too many people saying that's mine.
And I agree with you, and I think if this conference is able to catalyse the people who actually can drive this, to enable them and allow them to drive it, I would find that extremely, extremely helpful. But we are disturbed, if I can put it that way, not mentally disturbed, but rocked by events. And so a lot of the focus in Tees Valley is post-SSI. That disturbed. You've got central government saying the science and technology, science and innovation audits have to be joined up with other people. So again, you come up with a plan and then somebody else moves it or criticises. Not an excuse, it's a fact. So I think if we can actually get a bit between our teeth or form some device that might drive this out of this conference.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Having sat in a UK bio discussion about how does the UK even get its story together. This is a global world where you're basically, and if we stay in healthcare, so manufacturing, if you ask a major pharma company where will they make their next manufacturing expansion, they will not say Britain. They will say we're going to make it in Ireland or Singapore, and that's typical. That's what they're saying. However, that's yesterday's products. So tomorrow's products are advanced therapies, and where you make the advanced therapies is not yet a done deal. Because where gene therapy manufacturing is going to be made, where cell therapy manufacturing is going to be made, one is it has to be really local to where the patients are for cell therapy, and for gene therapy it can be anywhere in the world. Actually, it's not a huge investment. It's actually got to be close to where people are developing the know-how and the knowledge, because that's where it's at. I have a plan in Texas. The Texas Medical Center is doing a superb job of trying to just set the agenda and reposition Texas as the place, rather than California and Massachusetts. Come to Texas and do your work here, because we've got a ninth of the population in the United States being treated through the Texas Medical Center. And you go, wow. Now, what we've got to be doing is similar things with the UK, and then similar things with the sub-region of the UK called the North East, which is, what have you got that you can actually play on a global scale? Because quite honestly, winning the UK debate, it's a bit ho-hum. You've really got to be pitching to be a global leader with what we're doing. UCL and Imperial are at the moment about to build, I think it's a 350 million campus for advanced therapies on the old White City. So they're taking a whole chunk of London and trying to build that campus. We can't do the King Canute of saying, they want to do that there, they should do it north. But we should accept that they need a whole bunch of things that we can do to make that success. And we need to be putting that, on the ground and driving it at the same pace they're doing it. Because otherwise the UK agenda will just be set by two London universities, very richly funded, who just do it. And no one's going to naysay in government that White City is a bad place to do this sort of development. And we've got to be right at the top table saying, as well as that, we see that's cool, here's what we can bring from the North East. And I think your point about a North East joined up Bioscience, what can we bring to it, is we have to do it.
And that's a positive. Sorry, no.
I was going to say, the exciting thing is that the White City development is a harbinger of its own disaster, because it isn't a necessary and sufficient condition, it is a necessary condition, but so too is any other academic centre developing these facilities. It is hamstrung by access to skills, access to real estate, etc. We have the opportunity to suck SMEs out of places like the White City development and bring them up to Teesside. We do it already for Imperial, for Cambridge and others, and bring them up and locate the businesses here, because that's where the economic prosperity will come, is those businesses coming and starting to employ people. And so it's the joining up, and the point is, let's join up the North East if we can, but we also need to work out how to bring in UCL, KCL, the White City thing, and say this is a UK effort, because they cannot succeed on their own. There are certain views around that Oxford can succeed on its own. Take 1100 years of perhaps being academically brilliant, but it hasn't generated a lot of business. It needs additional things there to make it work. And the North East, we need to understand what the gap is and actually offer, because I think we already have gone a long way towards making that offer, but it needs to be much more coherent, and it needs the political leadership and oomph there. It isn't now going out sort of for local votes, it is going out for UK prosperity in 30 or 40 years' time. That's a very different agenda from where we are today.
From a business school perspective, I think I'm on the same stage as Neil. I think for us, we have to look at the bigger picture. It's the North East, and it's not the North East in the UK or Europe, it's globally. And it's how do we look at the greater picture, not the individual businesses. And the first communication is about us as Bioscience in the North East, and weaving that tight story together. And I think having listened to Valda today, it's about us understanding the means of that communication, and it's not the traditional, looking around the table, not to offend anybody in terms of age, but actually, if we're looking at the future of bioscience, it's about how do we communicate that and create that narrative, because what we're trying to do from a university stance is bring through your employees of tomorrow, and we need to hook them and excite them. So for me, you said in terms of do people actually understand? So I think we need to make understandable what do careers look like in bioscience and make it touchable. And I think we've got that skill set around the table, but it's just simplifying it and then reinforcing that message again and again, but with the different and appropriate technologies of today.
I completely agree with that. I think there's a lot of evidence that we are very good at doing that already in the North East, because of the people that we're bringing into the North East. For me, the issue is different. The issue is we've got to learn how to operate and communicate at the very highest of levels in a similar way to the way that King's College London, Imperial, Oxford, Cambridge and so on communicate. Because the potency of their communications is clear. It really is very, very clear, whereas we are sort of Newcastle, Durham, Teesside. The way in which we communicate and the level at which we communicate is potentially an area where we could learn from others.
But I think it's taking small steps. There's no point in having too big an ambition. It's just in terms of what do we do first? Who does it and under what time frame? Because at least it's taken us a step in the right direction. Because we've all been inspired this morning and we all want to do something, but we need to do something, and we need to do it within a time frame to actually just move us in that direction. So I agree with you, but it's just about us deciding out of this group, what do we do and how do we just move it just a step forward so that at least we actually feel we're going in the right direction.
It's maybe a question that we should ask of Craig. I mean, I've already been given a question to ask of Craig. Interesting, but maybe a question to ask of Craig because he's from Teesside. But I sat in a room in Manchester with Michael Heseltine, George Osborne, Nancy Rothwell from King's. It doesn't matter who it was, but if you didn't have Sir, Dame or Lady, and that was Manchester talking about Manchester, we couldn't assemble that degree of potency in the North East. That's what I'm talking about. It's getting that on the table.
I think I would push back on that and say you could, but what I'm hearing from this group is that this probably the only person that has nothing at all to do with bioscience is you're all too close to it. And you're looking at the micro, not the macro.
We have a volunteer to assemble that group, I think.
That sounds good.
Just pulling it all together, because I think one of the things we're going to have to go back and talk about is just, so what was the mood music of the group? And I think it's been really good getting that sort of sense of, I think it's a really strong challenge you're giving us, that maybe the people wrestling with this are too close to the action and we need to just allow it to be looked at from a different angle. And I think some of the, let's not lose the fact that even as we were trying to define what bioscience was for this discussion, we've sort of put a bit of bioscience, we've sort of gone, well, let's keep on the health piece of bioscience because some of this other stuff is happening too. So how we tell that story and how we tell the bio story, I think, let's just share the difficulty we had in telling it to ourselves in here and the fact that we were challenged to talk about the story from outside in words that can be explained, you know, curing cancer on the one hand, to aging, to some of the feed stories that you were. Let's just share that as being, you know, a work in progress. There's no way we could get this group to solve the problems, but we've at least brought them onto the table. And let's put in front of the Prosperity Conference, there's a real appetite to do something. We think that in strategic terms, this is something that could be a differentiator for the region. It is a differentiator today, but it's undersold. So,
and we want some more unified voice.
Right, and under one leader.
We want the Northeastern Bioscience Czar.
With that, thank you very much, everybody.